calling to order the Municipality of Monroeville's and regular council meeting for July 14th, 2020. It is approximately 7 p.m. If we'd all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the
United States of America,
and
to
to
the
the
republic
republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we could please have a roll call, please.
Mayor Grieslock,
Here.
Mrs. Gatos,
Here.
Mr. Poach,
Here.
Mr. Harvey,
Here.
Mr. Wolfram,
Here.
Mr. Arsenko, Mr. Williams,
Here.
Mr. Wilson,
Here.
Mr. Little,
Here.
Mr. Ratcher,
Here.
Miss Rock.
Here.
Thank you. Yes, once again, we have, council has decided to hold this meeting in a Zoom fashion. Unfortunately, with the recent upticks in the positive COVID cases, they decided to keep everyone separated and have a Zoom meeting. Sometimes this information happens so fast, and what we're stuck with is that we have to have advertising requirements. So we make these decisions, we have to advertise it, it takes time. So at the time we advertise for the Zoom meeting just to get it in the books, and that's why we're having it. But we really want to get back to having our regular meetings in person on a regular basis. And I think everyone could agree with that here on council.
Oh, please.
So tonight we are combining our Citizens Night and our regular council meeting. I just want to start with thanking the staff, the municipality, all of our employees that are working under these challenging times, our police department and everything they've been doing, our first responders, all of our healthcare workers in our community, and I wish the best to all of our small businesses and our businesses here in Monroeville and our Chamber of Commerce, and certainly all of our residents. And we appreciate everyone's patience and due diligence and everything they've been doing to keep everyone safe and to and do what's best for the community and to support our businesses here in Monroeville. So this, with these Zoom meetings, what we've had to do with our public comment period, we've asked residents to email the manager prior to the meeting. We had 2 comments for this evening. First one is from Tom Henningsen. He had one question, and it revolved around the cable franchise agreement with Verizon and Comcast. Specifically, he was asking about if Verizon Fios would be available for the Maple Crest housing development off of Logan's Ferry Road and also the surrounding area. And we are still looking into that. It seems like that should be, based on the past agreements with the density of housing, that should be approved and should be pushed through. But we are still waiting to hear back from Verizon. And I agree, we should have a choice in the matter. And I think it's a good thing for the community to have both competing companies in their region. And so we will get, we're waiting to hear back, like I said, from Verizon and our representative there. And we will get that information to the community as soon as we have it. Was from Mr. John Yakum. His comments actually covered over about approximately 15 questions in his comments. Most of these are going to be addressed at tonight's meeting. He starts with asking about the budget and what we have reduced as far as our spending and the costs that were cut, and also what our current revenue streams are. Mr. Little will be giving a report later in this meeting about the status of that. And we have certainly all the departments have been watching their costs and cutting their bills. And the council had laid off approximately 40 full-time and part-time employees total. And everyone is trying to do their best as far as savings. from a municipal from municipal standard. Had two questions about the fire departments. The first one was about the first one was about personnel and the fire agreement. The fire agreement does not cover personnel. So the municipality of Monroeville does not employ the fire and EMS personnel. And it is the fire chief's responsibility for the training and for the employment of those individuals. The fire agreement is really more about apparatus and then how the relationship between us and the municipality, or the municipality and the fire departments goes. And we're always evaluating this. We have a new fire agreement that will be coming up here shortly, and we'll be looking into all of the matters there. The next question about the fire departments is about the Quint 1, which is on the agenda for this evening. We'll be discussing this in detail later about the equipment the equipment change over there at one of the fire departments. But both of those fire department questions are specifically for the fire departments, and that's where that information would be best gathered. The senior center and the library, we are still working to open up both buildings. Council has recently called back the employees of both departments, and both departments are working very hard with Public Works to ensure that they will be opening up safely. They are following all the CDC guidelines, all the state guidelines, all the county guidelines, the Library Association guidelines, and the Senior Center guidelines. Everything's being put together, and we are going to be opening those facilities only whenever it is safe. At this point, they are looking at perhaps an August opening, but unfortunately, the way that the information is coming in with COVID and the cases that are coming in, it is really on a day-to-day basis, an evaluation basis, but they will not be open until they are safe for the community. And both departments will be going back to offering as much online service as they possibly can. And we're hoping to get back to our new normal as quickly as possible. But it is more than likely the library will be open sooner than the senior center will be. And one of the comments from Mr. Yakum was that would be prudent, considering that with school coming up and maybe there's online schooling, that there might be some resources that parents may need and students may need at the library. And that is a point well taken. But we are trying to get both those facilities open safely as quickly as possible. And then the other comment was about the swimming pools, the local swimming pools, and their relationship with the municipality. This year, all of the neighborhood pools are open: Garden City, Gateway Heights, Haymaker Swim Club, and Park Swim Club. All of them are accepting memberships this season. Because of some of the restrictions, there may be they may have some capacity issues, and I believe that is the case for one or two of the clubs, but all their information is online: GardenCityDolphins.com, GatewayHeights.org, HaymakerPool.org, and ParkSwimClub.org. All of this can be found on the internet with a Google search, and but all of those pools are open, and we are still actively working with them to see what services we can provide and how we can help them along the way. Our rec department had to cancel all of their summer camps, so as far as any kind of services that we needed to do or have for our residents, those were all canceled, but we are still in talks with the neighborhood pools, and we wish them the best this summer. And it's certainly been hot and a good summer for swimming, and people are certainly ready to be outside. So,
Eric, you want to take this one or me?
I can.
well, let me finish up 1 second here, gentlemen. Let me finish up with both of these comments. That'll be our comment section. Both Mr. Henningsen and Mr. Yakum's comments will be fully placed in the permanent record. All of council has those exact comments as well, but those are the comments from the residents. And with that, I'm going to close the Citizens Night portion of this meeting. And then, I'm sorry, was it Mr. Harvey or Mr. Poach? Did you either?
Well, I think Eric was going to take it. The only comment I was going to make is that the pools have all acknowledged to us that their membership and people attending the pool and coming into the pool and joining the pools has skyrocketed. They are doing very well. skyrocketing might be a little heavy, but they are doing well. Eric?
Sure. Thanks, Ron. We did a couple of things as we're moving forward with them. And again, we had I know we had at least one Zoom meeting, possibly two, I believe, and another in person over the last few months. So we have been, as the mayor was saying, working with everyone, on those polls. We began with one of the things we realized is how else we can continue to work with them. One of our concerns is we were able to use the advantage of Monroeville's buying power and account, and to help integrate with the emergency medical service as well. We've ordered some automatic external defibrillators, the AED, the same that Monroeville uses here. We have in our other across the municipality. They're not in yet. As of noon today, check, they could be in also. It takes a little while to get some things nowadays too. So that'll be able to be a capability that those facilities have. And then so there'll be some training upcoming with that we'll see to it is done, as well as Mr. Harvey and I already met with one of the pools to get started. We've got to make the arrangements for the other ones. That's going to be completely on us as we get the equipment in together for some additional things specific to meeting some of the CDC guidelines for the pools to be open. The guards would work on the resuscitation a little bit differently and so on as well. So we had one opportunity to kind of practice up at Gateway Heights. Actually, we did that, and we'll be in touch with the rest of that group as well. We have some equipment to go with them, and we updated some of the other medical equipment using the advantage of Monroeville's purchasing power to do that and get those things there. Some new backboards and spinal mobilization things, which are all required for those pools to have. So wish we could have done a little more with things, but the world's definitely different in changing, no question. But I certainly appreciate the openness, the conversation, the dialogue we've had with all of those folks. And I think it's been great watching those folks work together too in a number of things. And to steal one of the quotes, and I forget who it was that said it to us, from one of the pool presidents, said, well, in the summer as teams, we're sort of in competition, but in between, we're all on the same side. So they're working well together. And again, as the mayor was mentioning, guys, if you have the opportunity to join, they're able to they're looking for those members to continue to do that. And they're viable is what they reported to us for the rest of the summer, although they too were not concerned were they going to open or not too. And they did a great job, I think.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Poach. And I mean, high praise for everyone involved with those at the pools. A lot of volunteer time, a lot of passionate people. Everyone from top to bottom, they're working very hard, and they do every year to make sure those pools are open. They're a tough business, and they're tough to keep running. So they do an excellent job, but we'll keep the discussions open with them.
One other thing, Mayor, I don't know if this is as good a time as any. I have some information from the library. I know we usually do that, whether I want to save it for the report or I want to give it to those folks now. They have some data on their up opening that they sent to us.
Now, as good a time as any. Go ahead.
All right, let's see if I can do the screen share, guys. Let's see if this happens now. All right. So you folks see my screen, I take it?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So we got some information from the folks at the library today. First of all, they wanted to let us know that the Dropbox is now open 24/7, I guess, effective today. So for those of you that had some items such as this guy here has had them for a month or two, please, you can go ahead and get them back at any time. Those were not manned prior to that. Contactless pickup is available Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays from 10 to 4. And Tuesday and Thursdays, the hours are listed there as well. And the community members can request online items, and that just restarted on Monday, or calling at the Monroeville number, the 372-0500, or emailing the library at the EIN network piece of it. That was another piece that they said to us. They're also working on the faxing and printing services to be available. The gallery space, for those of you familiar with the library, again, you're not in contact with the staff. You come in, the doors immediately in front of you are not available. You'll go to be diverted to the side, and the door from the gallery space in there too. So it was almost a predetermined ante-room to keep people apart, but they can have some online resources available as well. And the website and Facebook have virtual programming and extended services. And again, there's always, you can call the main number as well for any other questions. So they'll have those folks available in their normal hours and the pickup times that they listed as well. Okay. So let's see if I can get to stop sharing now. All right, we're back.
Great. All right. Thank you, Mr. Poach. And yes, as even that last statement, I mean, with all of the departments, the website and the Facebook pages are the best way because things are changing on a daily basis and they can change at any time. We do our best to try to get the information out there on those pages and through Nixle alerts if we have to. But once again, just go to the website, the municipal website, the library website, the Facebook pages of the departments, and that's where you can get your most up-to-date information. So I have an executive session announcement I want to read into the record that council conducted an executive session via teleconferencing for personnel and litigation reasons on Thursday, July 9th, 2020, beginning at 11 a.m. until 11:35 a.m. Council legislative action, if any, shall be taken this evening at the July 14th council meeting. Council, your minutes for this evening to be approved would be the Citizens Night meeting of June 9th, 2020, the regular council meeting of June 9th, 2020, and remember the council work session last in June, we combined them as well. So is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion.
We have a motion. We have a motion and a second to approve. Does anyone have any comments or questions, additions, or changes to those minutes? Seeing none, we have a motion, a second to approve. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Gatos,
Aye.
Mr. Poach,
Aye.
Mr. Harvey,
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
Can we
The
go
ayes
back
have
to
it.
the regular screen?
Yeah, Tim has his, there we go.
The ayes have it. Council, the reports of the tax collections that you have in front of you, is there a motion to approve that report?
Motion.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any comments or questions, council? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second to approve. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Gatos,
Aye.
Mr. Poach,
Aye.
Mr. Harvey,
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Our list of bills and budget transfers. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions, council, or comments?
No, sir.
Seeing none, we have a motion and a second to approve. Roll call, please.
Mr. Wilson,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram,
Aye.
Mr. Harvey,
Aye.
Mr. Poach,
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos.
Aye.
The ayes have it. And council, the payroll report. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any comments? Motion and a second to approve. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Gatos,
Aye.
Mr. Poach,
Aye.
Mr. Harvey,
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Council, we're going to move over to our vacancies on boards, commissions, and authorities. In your packet, it's the blue section. And also what I'm going to do at this time is I'm going to shuffle our agenda a little bit. Under our consent agenda, section B of motions, item number 1, we have a motion to accept the resignation of Georgianne Payne from the Police Civil Service Commission. But ask that I would like to seek a motion for that.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the resignation. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Wilson,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram,
Aye.
Mr. Harvey,
Aye.
Mr. Poach,
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Now we're going to stick with the vacancies. Mrs. Gatos, do you have anything this evening?
I do not. Thank you.
Mr. Poach,
No, sir.
Mr. Harvey,
Yes, I would like to, concerning the vacancy that just happened on the Civil Service Commission, I would like to nominate Miss Luann O'Neill from Pondview Drive.
Second.
I think you've got her resume, and I think she would be a good person to fill in on that spot.
So we have a motion to nominate and
Second.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion, the nomination stands. Mr. Harvey, do you have anything else?
No.
Very good. Mr. Wolfram,
I have nothing right now.
Mr. Williams,
Nothing.
Mr. Wilson.
Nothing, sir.
Very good. All right, council, we are going to move over to our consent agenda. Item A, new business. We have 20-2-SUB, AWK Consulting Engineers Incorporated. Mr. Little, if you would take it from here.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, the applicant is requesting a preliminary and final subdivision approval to consolidate tax parcels 543D360, Lot 12, and 543D364, Lot 13 into one lot. The combined lots create Lot 12R with a total acreage of .41. The property is located at 109 Queen Drive in the R2 one-family residential district. There are no issues with this subdivision, and I'd recommend council approve it.
Motion to approve. Motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions, council? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second to approve. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Gatos,
Aye.
Mr. Poach,
Aye.
Mr. Harvey,
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Wilson,
Aye.
The ayes have it. Council, moving over to our motions. Actually, the second motion, Mr. Little.
Okay, this is a motion to enter into an agreement with the Monroeville Volunteer Fire Department number 1 to pay $20,000 of $79,860 estimate from Ashley Truck of Venetia, PA, to repair the Quint fire truck with any overages of the estimate to be paid by the Monroeville Volunteer Fire Department number 1.
Motion to approve.
I
We have a
second
motion
that.
to approve
I
and
second
a
that.
second. Any comments?
Yeah,
Yes.
before we do that, I would ask Mr. Harvey to enlighten the public on the cost of this and why the $79,000 is considered, if he would.
Right, yeah, good idea.
I'll try to
Mr.
make
Harvey.
this in brief. But that's going to be kind of hard. This vehicle was purchased by the municipality in 2006, I believe. Company 1 added the Quint part to the pumper, which turned it into an aerial truck in essence. Every year there's
Mr. Harvey.
ladder truck.
Mr. Harvey, for the sake of the public, could you explain what a Quint, turning it into a Quint truck means?
Yes, basically taking the pumper truck and adding a power ladder to the top and making it a ladder truck. And anyway, every year, now the 3 ladder trucks have to be tested per NFPA for safety reasons. And there's quite an extreme, an extensive test that they put them through once a year. And the Quint failed the last inspection. And basically, there were some outrigger rust problems, and mainly the torque box, which is the frame of the vehicle that holds the ladder. And they were concerned that it had rotted away to the point where it wouldn't have been safe to use. So it has been sitting out because Chief Belts from Company 1 sent at our request, sent a request from the manufacturer, Ferrara Incorporated, to give him a price on what it would take to fix it. And their return letter, and I'm going to use round numbers, was that to basically fix the torque box, it was going to be $400,000. And to replace the frame and cabin chassis was going to be $600,000. And to replace the whole unit was going to be $900,000. Well, we thought this to be out of bounds, and we have found a repair shop. Actually, myself and Mr. Ratcher knows the gentleman from years past, and Scott Belts, Chief Belts, took the Quint out there, and we have heard from other customers that he has repaired their ladders and Quints, and with satisfactory results. So he submitted a bid, and the total bid package was $79,820. I don't have it in front of me. And with that, we decided that the municipality would put in $60,000 to repair this. Company one would pay the balance, including anything that they might find once they take it apart. Company one has agreed to that. The only options for this were to let it sit and rust off the frame and be worth nothing, or get it repaired. And I understand when we get it repaired, that company one has agreed to extend the life of it for another 6 years, because it was technically due to be replaced in 2. And we would have got next to zero return financially on that truck under its current condition. With the municipality and company one pitching in to fix it, in 6 years, I am reasonably certain, with the way that company one takes care of their vehicles, that the municipality will recoup their money plus.
Mr. Mayor. Very good. Yes.
Ron, I understand that this is a very important vehicle for the community because of what it can do. I understand it is more flexible, I guess, in fighting fires, and it has really come in handy in the past.
That would be true, Tom. And again, it's a unique vehicle in that it's smaller than the other 2 ladder trucks. It has the ability to get in some places that normally would be difficult. And also, when one of the other 2 main ladder trucks go down, it fills in for them.
Thank
you. I had a conversation with Chief Belts, and my question was, why is a fire truck rot out when it's kept in the garage all the time? And his comment was, especially in the wintertime, when they bring it back to the fire station, put it in the garage and hose it down, it's impossible to get on all the cracks and crevices under that truck. So my question would be, once this truck's repaired, would it be a good idea to have it Z-boarded, maybe have some of our other trucks Z-boarded too?
Well, I would think that the company that is doing the repairs will put better protective coating on it before they put the truck back together.
Okay, hey, thanks Ron, for the comment. I'm sure the public appreciates it, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Harvey. Any other comments or questions?
I have a question to Mr. Harvey. Mr. Harvey, since Mr. Williams brought that up about doing some kind of protection, can you follow up on that and see that, you know, such things are done to protect that from rotting out some more?
I will. I think Mr. Belts might be in council chambers, but if Chief Belts is not, I will talk to him and make sure that he talks to that company and make sure that it is done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is Mr. Belts in chambers?
Yes, he is, Mr. Mayor. He's coming to my seat now, and you'll be able to communicate with him when he sits down here.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Chief Belts, welcome.
How are you?
Doing well.
A lot of the parts that are being replaced on here, they're actually replacing with a stainless steel metal rather than a typical, you know, steel product. That's the verbiage that he had placed into a lot of the quote. So, you know, that of course, you know, withstands the test of time better than a typical, trying to think of the type of steel, but, you know, with iron ore steel. Now, you know, some of the other components, you know, vary us through here, but there is some verbiage in regards to coding, and I'm trying to find it, on the gun here, but there is talk about a type of there was a specific name for it, like a rhino lining or a product name that I'm trying to find on the spot. But there is one here, and they
Is
are.
it like a powder coating?
No, it's more of a rust inhibitor, type product. So what it does is it seals any of the areas that are cleaned, and there's a lot of talk of how they're cleaning the frame rails, cleaning the torque box areas off. Some is pressure washing versus like a sand blasting or an abrasive blasting product, and they're coating it so that it prevents future rust down the road.
Better than a Z-Bart.
I don't
And
know.
do we have
I
a
hope.
time, if this gets approved this evening, do we have an idea of a turnaround time on this vehicle?
The turnaround time is roughly 75 days. Now, that's give or take, but the talk is should be approximately 75 days, and the truck should be finished.
Okay, very good. Council, any other questions about this or for the chief?
Yeah, I do have one. Chief, how much extra life will this give that vehicle?
Well,
Approximately, yeah.
there is no end time that's given to me that the truck is, this repair will last you no more than 6 years.
Right, okay.
The mechanic or repairman, or however you want to identify the gentleman, he says that they have a truck in service. That when I was down at his shop dealing with him, and they have a 2001 aerial truck, same manufacturer, almost identical truck, and they actually had to do the identical repair, which is coincidental. And that truck today is no longer belongs to the original department that it was purchased by, but it now belongs to a semi-native, local-ish department to their area right now. So that being a 2001 truck puts it 19 years.
Yes.
So it's went well beyond Peters Township Fire Department, and now serves another community.
Oh, fantastic.
Obviously lasting the test in time as far as concerned.
Yeah.
Which I was
Chief,
impressed.
I have a question for you, Chief, too. Overall, maybe, I'm not sure if we expanded the entire piece of this. So from the original lifespan, I know Ron mentioned it, of it, plus this additional piece now, what will be looking at the overall operational life of the apparatus since it was purchased?
Freedom Municipality?
Yep.
That would be 21-ish years.
I was going to say, it extends it to 21 years under the normal agreements that we had before, which I believe this one was on the 15-year replacement cycle, was it not?
It was moved into 20-year because of the aerial device on
Right. So in other words, we are getting more for benefit out of the refurbishment and the repair of the apparatus.
Yes, that's a very good point to make. I mean, this will definitely stretch the taxpayers' dollars further.
Yep.
This is a vehicle that we would not have to replace as we were already agreed to do. So I think this is actually money well spent for the community and for the fire department and for public safety. So.
Right. And it
Any
is a
other,
unique capability too, so it fits in place too. But it's value added for us.
Certainly. Last chance, any questions or comments? We have a motion and a second to approve this.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Chief.
members of council.
And we can I have a roll call vote, please?
Mrs. Gatos,
Aye.
Mr. Poach,
Aye.
Mr. Harvey,
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram,
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Council, we're going to move over to our resolutions. We have one this evening. Mr. Little, please.
Okay, we have a resolution authorizing Timothy J. Little to sign the attached agreement between the Municipality of Monroeville and the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation to participate in the engineering and construction management system. What this is a data collection that PennDOT does across the state for traffic lights and other in roads that that they put into a whole management system, and they need somebody to sign the resolution, and either I or the mayor. So it's been put down there for me to sign it. So it's more or less a housekeeping item.
Motion.
Is there any,
One second, Mr. Wood. We have a motion and a second to approve.
Was there a second? I'm
comments?
sorry. Who was the second?
That was the second.
Oh, thank
Mr.
you.
Wolfram was the second. Mrs. Gatos made the motion. We
Thank
have
you.
motion and second to approve. Mr. Williams, you had a comment or a question?
is there any cost to the municipality?
No.
Very good. Any other comments or questions? Motion and a second to approve. Roll call, please.
Mr. Wilson,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram,
Aye.
Mr. Harvey,
Aye.
Mr. Poach,
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos.
Aye.
The ayes have it. And council, we're going to move over to our reports of our municipal staff. Mr. Ratcher, if you want to unmute and let us know if you have any report this evening.
I have no report this evening, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Little, a few items there if you would like to have the floor.
Yes, well, for the past, this will be the third month that I've been giving council a special revenue report because of the COVID-19 possible lack of revenue, more than possible, but most likely lack of revenue that everybody across the state, every municipality and city is going to be experiencing. And, but before we even get started with that, to answer the question of one of our people putting in a question, the way we have reduced expenses, as the mayor had alluded to before, is we have laid off close to, or furloughed close to 40 people in the library and the senior citizen center, full and part-time, and we have reduced expenses that way. One thing you have to remember, we have a $35 million budget, and approximately $24 million of that is fixed cost. Most of that, as in any organization, is salaries or benefits. Now, hopefully, as we move along here, we will not have to furlough any more people, but nobody knows what the future will hold. But the biggest way that we have reduced costs is not showing up in the general fund budget, but is in capital. We have put the whole 5-year capital improvement program on hold. We started that in January, and because of the pandemic, we have put it on hold. We have tried to keep our capital expenditures to a minimum. Now, some people may say, well, we've paved roads. Yes, we have paved roads. And that is a prudent thing to do, because if you let roads go, they will become more expensive. And that is something the council decided to do 2 months ago. Not only that, because oil prices, which relates to asphalt, were so low, it's better to do it now than a year or two when prices most likely will go up. So that's basically the overview with respect to expenses and how we have reduced expenses through capital. What we want to do, just to add to that, is we want to keep our fund balance, which has been good over the last 2-3 years. We want to keep that very healthy. Now, we spent a lot of money in 2019 on capital, but we still want to keep the capital there in case we need it as a rainy day fund. All right, now, as far as the report, I have given this to council. This will be the third month. And everybody can see that. I assume it's on the screen share. And as I can point out, and I'll have a bar chart coming up on this, our real estate taxes coming in, the current, we're only down 4.38%. That is depending on how the collection goes. So that is really not material, at least at this point. Most, if not all, the real estate tax collection, 97, 96, 97%, should be collected by the end of this month. Where we want to focus here is current business tax right here and mercantile tax. As you can see, there is a mercantile tax here. We are $876,000 we have not collected, and $924,000 we have not collected. Now, as council knows and the public knows, we have extended the date from April 15th to July 15th, commensurate with the federal and state, that businesses have to pay their mercantile and business privilege tax respectively. So we don't know what we're going to take in now. Now the tax office says a lot of the business and mercantile tax is coming in. We will know more in the August meeting at the end of July on how much that has come in. Another tax that we have to be looking at, which surprisingly has not gone down as much as we thought, at least at this point, is the wage tax right here, the EIT, Earned Income Tax. That's only down close to 3%. So that is a bright spot that it hasn't gone down as much. Coming down here to the regional asset tax, the RAD tax, that has gone down, but quite frankly, it hasn't gone down as much. Going on to the second page, building permits, as you would well think, that has gone down tremendously, 65%, and in absolute numbers, it's $63,000. Occupancy permits have gone down, and this is reflecting what we were not doing in the latter part of March and what we were not doing in April and in May. But if you come down all the way to the bottom here, we are short so far $2.4 million, close to 2.5. The large part of that, as I said, is because of the business tax and the mercantile tax. That makes up the lion's share of that, why we are low right here in revenue. As we move along, we're keeping an eye on these, and as I have told council and I've mentioned it publicly, at the end of the third quarter is really going to start telling the tale on if we have a real significant dearth in revenue. So that is the, and I have that also in a bar chart that I am going to pull up here in 1 second here. Now I've given this bar chart to council each month, and these reflect exactly what I had just mentioned with the absolute numbers. It gives more of a snapshot. And as you can see, the building permits are kind of small because they are a lesser amount of a $35 million budget. But as you come down here with the earned income tax, again, I thought we'd be, back down around 3 million or something like that at this point. We're not. Local services tax, which is the $52 that everybody pays, usually at the beginning of the year in the first quarter, that's been holding steady. And again, you can see the business tax and you can see the mercantile tax, how they are much lower because we extended the due date to July 15th. Real estate tax is down a little bit, but that could just be because of collections on when collections take place. So unless anybody has any questions on those specific revenue items, or for Josie, since Josie is here, does anybody have any questions on those?
Council, any questions?
None for me.
I'd just like to say thank you for doing a good job on that, Tim.
Okay, well, Josie's the one that's put those.
And Josie too.
Yeah, Josie, she's the one, you can thank Josie on that.
Yeah.
Great job, Josie.
Good job, Joseph.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Josie, great job.
Thanks.
All right, Mr. Little, you have another item under your report.
Yes, council has received a proposal from the Cohen Law Group that I gave to council on their website a couple weeks ago. And this is a proposal for wireless facilities management services. Cohen Law Group is our attorney for our franchise agreement for the Comcast and the Verizon franchise agreement. And I'll comment on that after I talk about the small facilities management services. Let me get this off here first. Let me, lost my screen.
You can see it, Tim.
Can you see the
Yeah, regulation of wireless facilities.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I can't see it. Okay, that's on my second. Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
this is a, I'm going to go through about 5 or 6 slides that, this is from Dan Cohen Law Group. I think it explains everything rather well. What you see here, one picture is 1,000 words. This right here is a wireless antenna that they're going across the country, and they're putting these up. And what this does is this does not go for coverage, longer distance in coverage. It's more for broadband. What this is going to facilitate is the 5G network that's coming into the Pittsburgh area. And the Pittsburgh area is behind in the 5G network with respect to other parts of the country. As you can see, this is what is going to be proposed by Comcast, in this particular instance, Verizon. This is what is called a distributed antenna system for small cells. DAS boosts broadband capacity, it's not the coverage, to allow more rapid download speeds and improved network capacity for smartphones, digital tablets, and autonomous vehicles. Installed by both wireless carriers, Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, and T-Mobile, but by wireless contractors, Crown Castle, Mobilite, ATC, and Extenet. An estimate of 150,000 DAS and small cell facilities were constructed by the end of 2018, and it's expected to reach 455,000 by 2020 and 800,000 by 2026. So the impact of the new wireless facilities. New wireless facilities create a physical impact on the rights of way, new financial burden on the municipal governments, and an aesthetic issue created by the new mini cell towers in residential neighborhoods. Because these facilities are installed in the public rights of way, they require different regulations than those applied to cell towers. Recommended that municipalities take a proactive approach and develop a regulatory structure that ensures high quality wireless service and preserves the character of the community. And this is the legal rights of the municipality regarding the wireless facilities. This came out of the Federal Communication Commission 2 years ago. It's the legal authority for wireless communications management by municipalities. Limitations may not prohibit or have an effect of prohibiting wireless facilities. It's like any other use. You cannot prohibit it, but you can regulate it. FCC adopted a material inhibition standard in its 3rd report in order. May not unreasonably discriminate against providers of functionally equivalent services. Must act on a request for approval within a reasonable period of time after the request is filed. May not regulate wireless services based on health effects of the radio frequency emissions. Any denial must be supported by substantial evidence. There's really not that much different here than any other development that comes in of the municipality's planning code. Maybe a little bit more on the aesthetics end because you can regulate that. This is the FCC's report. Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
When we did this before, we hired that law group in regards to the fact so that they can just like start throwing them up in our neighborhoods and stuff. Is that still going to hold true?
Well, we do have under our 2015 ordinance that we passed, we do have regulations coming in here. But speaking with Dan Cohen and Phil Fraga out of his office, there's more regulations that they believe that should be put together. And this is part of that little slide presentation here that, that they're proposing that we should do, but it's up to you, obviously.
Okay.
Okay, FCC's 3rd report in order, small wireless facility. The structure on which the antenna facilities are mounted has to be easily 50 feet or shorter in height, is no more than 10% of the taller than any other adjacent structure. For instance, if you had a building that was taller, it couldn't, in a commercial area, it couldn't be any more than 10% taller than that. Is not extended to a height of more than 50 feet or more than 10% above its pre-existing height as a result of the addition to a new antenna facility. So if they put up a co-locate on there, they put on a, what looks like what's called the node at the top there, that can't be any more than 50 feet higher. Each antenna associated, excluding the associated equipment, is no more than 3 cubic feet in volume, and all antenna equipment associated with the facility, excluding the antenna, are no more than 28 cubic feet, the equivalent of 210 gallons in volume. And I know this is a lot of information coming at you, But this is a proposal I think you should be thinking about. And this right here is the timelines on the clock for getting it done is a little bit different than the municipality's planning code with respect to any development. The shot clock for small wireless facilities co-located, which means if you have it on an existing telephone pole or any other type of transmission line, or even on a building for that matter, it's within 60 days. A small wireless facility on a new pole has to be 90 days, which was in the picture that I showed to you. Incomplete applications must notify the provider within 10 days. Can toll the shot clock only once, which means you can extend it only once. All approval permits and agreements must be completed within the shot clock timeframes, and the remedy for the provider is expedited injunctive relief. Now the FCC, what they've also done is they have regulated the fees, put a cap on the fees. The fees for small wireless facilities must be reasonable approximation of the municipality's cost, and the costs themselves must be reasonable, presumptively reasonable, and these are the ceilings. For initial fee application, it's $500 for a single application, which covers 5 co-located antennas. Those are the nodes that go on top. And then it's $100 per antenna after that. So you could have a telephone pole there, and physically permitting, you could maybe even have 5 of the nodes on a pole. And then for a new pole, like the one you saw in the picture, that would be $1,000 for that application for that, and a single node on top of it. Now there's also a recurring fee for the facilities, and this is a yearly fee of a cap $270 per site per year for all recurring fees, including in any possible right-of-way access fee or fee for the attachment to the municipality-owned structure in the right-of-way. Now, if you're going to go above any of these fees in the next slide here, if you go above these, you're going to have to substantiate to the provider, either Verizon or Comcast in our case, why these costs are higher. And you have to itemize that out. And that really isn't all that much different than what the municipality's planning code has, that if a developer thinks you're creating too much, for instance, for a zoning hearing board, you really have to itemize that out. So it really isn't all that much different. The only difference here is that they've put kind of a ceiling on it and a basis for what you're doing. Continuing on here, note that the local governments may exceed these fee ceilings by demonstrating that they have higher costs, as I've just mentioned. Most likely would need to conduct a right-of-way cost study. Now, this is the other thing on aesthetic requirements. Aesthetic requirements must be reasonable, no more burdensome than those applied to other types of infrastructure. They have to be objective and published in advance. Important to have clear, specific aesthetic requirements so that providers can't use the FCC order to invalidate them. Aesthetic requirements may be codified within a wireless ordinance or established through a separate design standards for wireless facilities. And this is outlined in the proposal that Cohen Law Group I gave to you, that they would assist with that. So that's basically the overview. And I know that I've given you, oh, okay, I'm sorry, there's another slide here. Okay, proposed course of action for municipalities, which is a kind of common sense. Amend your current cell tower ordinance or draft a new ordinance to achieve at least the following. Regulate the new wireless facilities in the rights of way. Include key legal protections for your municipality. Amend or create fee schedule either by using the new FCC fee ceilings or by conducting a right-of-way cost study. Create design standards for small wireless facilities. Incorporate recent FCC regulatory changes. Strike a balance between the need for wireless broadband and protecting the character of your community. Okay, that is basically the overview. If council has any questions for me, they're more than, and if I can't answer them, then I will call Mr. Cohn or Mr. Fraga and ask them.
Well, I'm gonna go back to that. I want to make sure we're protecting our neighborhoods from those towers being just installed in them. That's my biggest concern.
You're not going to stop that, I don't believe.
No, I don't think, no, you're not going to
No,
stop it. That's for
but
sure.
regulate it to the best of our ability.
Yes.
How close are these antennas between them?
That's a very good question, Bob. I don't know, and I think that is going to be just trying to interject some common sense into it. I'm not a person that deals with this all the time. I would think it depends a lot on the terrain, the buildings that are around that could maybe possibly impede the signal. I think it all, is possible on that. I mean, if you have a lot of hilly terrain, you may need more. And I'm only interjecting some common sense into it.
They will make application for this?
Yes, yes.
So we would be able to see locations, Tim?
Pardon me?
With the applications, would we be able to see locations that they are requesting?
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Does the planning commission review any of this?
Yes,
Okay, so this will go through the planning commission before it comes to us.
yes, I believe it would, yes. I'm about 90% sure on that.
Okay, we know the planning commission does a lot of legwork for council, and they're very much appreciated.
Yeah, but we'd have to make our amendments beforehand, though.
Yes. And more of the thing is, and I was just talking to Dan Cohen on the phone yesterday, and I was asking him about the aesthetic requirements and things of that nature are, as far, how far back in the right of way can it be set? And I asked him, I said, can you make it look like a tree? He says, well, I don't know if we can put branches on it, But
they do in California.
Well, I know they do have Cohen Group. They do have a booklet. I mean, I don't have it with me. I haven't seen it. He was telling me they have a booklet on a different design standards that are permissible to this point that we can do. So that's something I'm sure in that picture, which was taken, I think that was in Northampton County or Northampton Township, I believe. That picture, I forget what county Northampton Township is in. It might be Bucks County, I'm not sure. That picture was taken there. They had some type of lawsuit going on with either, Verizon or Comcast. I can't remember which. Or it might have been Crown Castle. I really can't remember. But in any event, I think it's something that council should consider and consider seriously because we have 5 of these or 6 of these already. I mean, they don't look exactly the same. One is over by, the Starbucks are over by Pier 1 Imports. One's behind Miracle Mile. One's on Mosside Boulevard by the Red Roof Inn. We have about 5 or 6 of them that are up there. Now, and so far they haven't gone into residential neighborhoods, but that may be coming down the line here because it hasn't, because as I mentioned at the outset, Pittsburgh is behind so far on the 5G network being rolled out, but that's going to change in the next few years.
Do all the carriers use the same antenna?
I don't know. I can't say they do or they don't, but the one you saw in the picture there is basically one of the ones that has been going up. I mean, I don't know if there's different models. I don't know.
Well, Tim, I think it's from council is maybe to have you discuss this further with Mr. Ratcher and staff and maybe get something drafted that council can review and talk about. But council, do you agree with that?
Yes.
Is that Mr. Ratcher or the Cohen Group that would do that?
That would be the Cohen Group. They've usually handled our stuff with cable franchise agreements and things of this nature.
And
yeah, so
one
Tim, if you... No, Mr. Harvey, go ahead.
I just had one last question because I totally lost track. Did somewhere in all this, did you answer Mr. Henningson's question?
Yeah, we did. Where I have talked to Phil Fraga out of the Cohen Law Group, and I mentioned that to him in the course of my conversations with him and Dan Cohen on this issue right here. And Phil Fraga he mentioned that he was going to be contacting a governmental representative in Verizon to see if indeed that was the case, because we do have an area within Monroeville, more so in the northeastern part, in the eastern part of Monroeville, where only Comcast is available, and Verizon, for whatever reason, in the agreement going back decades ago, they could obviously move in. University Park is one area, Shangri-La, in those areas. In fact, Ron, it's in your ward. Now, so the development, Maple Crest, that is going in is not in that area. So I don't know how Mr. Henningsen came across that information, but we're trying to verify it.
Okay, I didn't remember his exact question, and I didn't know if all this information answered it, which it probably did not. So
No, separate. They're separate issues.
Separate issues, yeah.
But we're working on Verizon Fios issue in that area, and then certainly I think we should talk to the Cohen Law Group a little bit more about this issue, and have Tim and staff review it, and then for council to maybe consider acting on this before it gets too far ahead of us.
I'm good.
All right.
Any other questions regarding this matter for Mr. Little?
No, can you take it down, Tim? Thanks.
Very good. Tim, do you have any other comments for this evening, Mr. Little?
No, I do not.
Very good. Thank you. Ms. Rock, you have joined us this evening. Do you have any comments?
I do. I have a very short presentation that believe you should have my notes that I sent to you, plus numbers, because anytime I talk to you, it always involves numbers. So
Yes, we do have it.
have a guest with us tonight, Lisa and Aaron. They're from AccuFund, or actually, they'll let you know the name of their company. What I had known that some of the other municipalities were paying less for their software than what we were. And when this COVID hit, I started to question, and about possibly converting the our software from Munis, which is Tyler Technologies, which is what we're using right now. And so my first thought was AccuFund, because a lot of similar municipalities use AccuFund. Mount Lebanon, Upper St. Clair, Ross Township, that's just to name a few. And so Tim suggested I look at a couple other, just to get a good idea of what's out there. And so I selected a company called BS&A that I've seen at, different conferences I've attended, and another company called Freedom Systems. BS&A is more like a Midwest company, and they're used by Altoona and Dormont. Freedom Systems is used by Elwood City, Homestead, and Wilkinsburg, which are smaller municipalities than ours. Tina and the whole finance staff was involved in listening to, the presentations, and we were able to get some test screens, which we did. And so after the staff tested, now this has all been taking like probably about 2 months. We decided Freedom System was not liked by anybody. It was cumbersome, and it was like an older system. So that was out immediately. That left us with BS&A and AccuFund. Well, AccuFund was nice. However, it was more costly than Munis. So the whole purpose in this was to try and save money going not only this year, but going forward, because, you know, like Tim had mentioned, our revenues, we probably haven't seen, you know, it isn't going to end this year. We'll have less revenues next year as a result of this. So, we selected, and I'm here tonight to talk to you about the possibility of changing our software, which is a big step. The reason we accepted AccuFund is a couple reasons. It's easier to use, user-friendly, and the support team is located in Export, PA, which we have Alyssa Kearney and Aaron McConnell with us. So I'm going to let Alyssa say something about the service in her company and how she helps other municipalities.
I believe we may just have Aaron McConnell with us.
Well, it says Aaron.
It's actually Elisa.
Yeah, it's
Hi.
Lisa.
Yes.
Is Aaron,
Hello.
Okay,
is
so
Aaron
Elise,
attending?
Yes, I'm so sorry for the confusion, but there it is. So,
okay,
no,
okay,
it's,
so Elisa is here. Welcome. Welcome.
and it's Elisa Kearney, so that's okay. It's the combination of McConnell and Kearney. So
Okay.
We're gonna get it right.
okay, so
We
sorry for the
will.
confusion.
So once we figure out all these Zoom meetings and we get everyone doing on the right page, everyone doing the right
Yes.
thing, we're gonna go back to our regular meeting. So, but at any rate, thank you for joining us this evening. Yeah,
Thank you for having me.
we're happy to have you. Ms. Rock set it up pretty well here. I do know that Munis in the past, myself and council don't directly deal with Munis, but from what I understand, it is challenging to work with at times. And I think user unfriendly from what I hear from staff. And so anytime we can do things better and maybe save money, that's a good thing. So if you would like to have the floor and speak about your company, please.
Okay, thank you. I'm the president of EMK, and I'm located in Export, Pennsylvania. So I've been in the business to work for governments and not-for-profits in implementing financial accounting solutions since 1993. So in 2004, we acquired AccuFund. We had another package before, and this package came to light, and it's a very user-friendly. We have a lot of happy clients. We don't sell anything else. We just deal with AccuFund. So we go around, we have a large presence in Pennsylvania. We're part of the GFOA. We also are we work in Indian reservations. I have several of those. We also work in Michigan, Virginia, West Virginia. So most of our area, though, is Pennsylvania. So we know all the rules for payroll. We take care of all our clients. We have Josie had mentioned some of our current clients. We have a lot of nonprofit ones, which the Sports Authority also is one of our clients. And, we have some other religious organizations too. So anyways, probably about 100 or so clients we support. And I worked with Tim before in another municipality. So I'm very happy that I had an opportunity to come back and show him how things have advanced in the years. And again, in those 16 years that I've been working with AccuFund, it's a very progressive company. We have all of the, as things develop, we give them to our clients. So we have the ability to enter timesheets, and we have soft clocks, we have time clocks. So we have a whole gamut of government modules that we can incorporate with AccuFund. Do you have any questions about anything? I think
This is Tom Wilson. How difficult is the conversion from what our current is today from Munis to your system?
Well, obviously it's always a traumatic experience for people. However, we do try to minimize that. We do about 8 conversions a year. So we're a very active reseller. There's 40 resellers of us throughout the United States, and we have a lot of activity. So we kind of have a game plan. It's important to get the chart of accounts. I noticed on the report that you just showed, you had 3 years of revenue. We of course can pull in historical information, and we'll evaluate that with you along the way to see what is it that you want to bring in and show on your financial reports.
Josie, do you feel comfortable with the conversion?
I do, Tom, and I'll tell you this, that when I first came to Monroeville, I started to learn Munis, and I was talking AccuFund back then, but then I grew to actually like Munis. I've learned to like it. It is very cumbersome though. That hasn't changed. And what I don't like about it is anytime you want to add something, it's more money. And we're going to be saving a lot of money. If you looked at oh, there it is. Let's talk money for a minute. What we've spent on Munis since 2018 was $94,000, $81,000, and in 20, I'm projecting it to be more like 83,000. So what happens is Munis will do an upgrade, and then that always costs us money, plus it's aggravation. The other reason I really would like to do this is because Tina and I have talked about going to the cloud for probably a couple years, because that's the way finance is going. And if you look at the bottom of this sheet that's up there, I don't know how to move that, but when we got a quote from Munis about going on to the cloud, it's going to cost about $130,000. AccuFund at the quote that we have there in front of you is $37,000. And to tell you the truth, we're actually getting an additional, I guess, is it a module, Elise?
Yes.
In that pay portal where the employees will be able to go online and look at their own,
Paychecks.
YouTube and whatever. What all can they look at, Elise?
Their paychecks. They could. You can actually even put. You could sign purchase orders electronically on there as well. So it's an employee portal where different modules will pop up, and whoever is board members could be, set up like that too. So you can look at financial statements as well as your pay information, to get your W-2s, your pay check, whatever it is that you want to put on the portal for them to have access to.
So Josie, how long of a conversion, how long would it take to convert over to AccuFund?
Well, that would be, I had asked Elisa that question, and we're looking to do the conversion by the end of the year and possibly go live with payroll at the beginning of the fourth quarter. Just because their payroll function with respect to doing the W-2s looks so much easier than what we're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
When you say fourth quarter of this year or the fourth quarter?
This year.
Okay.
So that would be October 1st. I believe that's what we talked about, correct, Elise?
Yes, it was what we talked about.
And this would, Josie, would include the training and all of that for everyone in the finance department?
Yes. Now, if you look at that sheet of numbers, first year cost on the cloud, you want it on, because that's really where we need to be, is at the cloud, because of, with the way we had to work from home, it would have been a whole lot easier if we were cloud-based. Plus, being cloud-based kind of removes, it gives you security that I guess you're not necessarily responsible for. Our IT department wouldn't have to maintain the hardware, software, upgrades. That's all done by AccuFund.
That was to be my question, Josie, in terms of security for upgrades and ongoing upgrades of the system. In addition to that, is there our own ability to add our own fixed site download for backup of the information and data?
I have to let Elise answer that. I haven't a clue.
Yes, actually, that is part of the agreement. You can decide how often you want to have a backup. It's a SQL database. So they're going to back it up for you. That's part of your cloud arrangement or, agreement. But if you chose to have a copy of the database sent to you on whatever basis you want, that is something that you can decide upon and we can accommodate you for.
Okay, but then you're also handling the regular normal upgrades in terms of operating system upgrades that have come out from the large operating systems such as Microsoft and so on and so forth.
Yes.
And the integration.
There's different sites throughout the United States where we have these bank of, servers and things to handle all our hosted clients. So we have quite a few. And one is in Las Vegas, Arizona. So there's different places around the United States where they're in a secure building, and all that information can be provided for you. Once we go forward, you could see our contract and take it from there. But yes, we have a lot of people recently who own the software, and because of COVID now, want to be a hosted client. So AccuFund has even worked out a plan where, because they've already purchased the software, they get a discounted hosted fee because of the number. It's based on the number of users. So because the demand has been so high, because a lot of people had to go to work because of COVID, because they couldn't get to the computer remotely, for their servers and things. So anyways, we worked that out recently, but we also host clients as well as, charge a subscription fee for this service.
So when you look at different not just vendors, just went out of my head here, users, pardon me, different users. So we would be a relatively small user in terms of numbers of individual. Is there any economies of scale that can be achieved with other folks using the system? More users or less versus, our numbers of users?
So we quoted a 25 user site for you, and then you have to consider the number of employees. Is that answering your question? I'm so
Yes, ma'am.
sorry. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. That's getting it too.
So we have a wide range. We actually have clients that are only a single user, but we go up to, as far as payrolls go, I think one of our largest is 1,100, people for payroll.
So Josie, on your screen that you have up here, so are you talking the final number for being in the cloud is the 61,996 for 2020?
Correct.
That's not, the screen's cut off what I'm looking at. There's numbers above.
Yeah, but what?
That's only if we actually had it ourselves and we.
Right.
No. What? Let me explain something. If we stay with Munis, minimally this year, we have to pay $12,000 support, $54,000 licensing. So that's $66,000. And as I say, with upgrades and so forth, it'll probably be up higher. So if you look at that, and that's not being online, that's self-hosting. So what I'm saying is that I'm going to round it to 62,000 for the first year for AccuFund. is going to be less money than what we're ultimately going to spend for
Right.
music the year, and it's not being hosted.
Correct. That you answered my question. So that 62,000 for AccuFund is an all-in number for 2020 for AccuFund.
Yes.
Correct.
including the
If we use the cloud.
Well, it's also including training services and setup.
Right, for the
of the
first
whole-
time. Now
Yes.
with the training, I think someone asked it earlier, that's with all of our staff or our finance staff. And then also, I'm assuming their department heads and management, Mr. Little, his secretary, everyone that needs to be trained, we'll get them trained through that.
Yes, that's an estimate of consulting and training time. And then the next year is really what the subscription fees are for hosting. So, and maybe a couple hours to load year end or go through year end processing with our clients. That might be like 2 hours added in there besides that. But
Certainly.
basically the costs are in the, first year actually. Might probably roll into 21, based on we've allowed some extra hours in for, just checking things out within a 6-month period, if you will. But we're your ongoing support. So there's an 800 number that you could call for AccuFund, but you can also, we're the ones who set everything up. So we want to know what you're doing. We want to be there, we'll be there for your payrolls just to make sure that everything is being, everything is working the way you anticipate it working.
Yeah, and that's extremely valuable to offer. So, I believe, Mr. Harvey, did you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, can we go back to the regular screen? My comment is that I, in this council, has always trusted its department heads. And I think Josie and her department did their homework on this one. And not to mention that over the next 3 years, it's helping us financially. I can't see us going wrong with this. And more importantly, I'd like to support the finance department and making this move. I don't know, Tim, do we have to bid this?
No, it's software. Software does not have to be bid.
So would this be?
Can we approve this tonight?
Sure.
So, Mr. Ratcher, would it be most appropriate to seek a motion to approve this change?
Yes, that's correct.
I'll make that motion. It's not a problem.
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to convert and contract with AccuFund for our financial software. Any other comments or questions, council?
Looking forward
Any
to
comments or questions?
Thanks, yes.
Thank you for your approval of this, and
Well, let's get 1 second, Josie. Let's go for the vote first. Let's make it
for
official.
the vote. Okay.
Yeah.
Make it official.
All right. So there is a motion and a second to approve this. Could I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Gatos,
Aye.
Mr. Poach,
Aye.
Mr. Harvey,
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram, Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
The ayes have it. It's official. Lisa, we look forward to working with you and your company.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And, we want to make you a happy customer like all the rest of ours. So looking forward to it. And, really thanks for the opportunity.
Great. Thank you.
We're gonna hold you to that.
Okay.
And Josie, great job.
Yay, Josie.
I'm over the hill. If you come on over.
All right.
Thank
Very
you,
good.
Josie.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thanks.
Take care.
Good job, Joes. Yes.
Josie, do you have any other comments for this evening?
I do not.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And now, council, we're going to finish up with our comments, our council reports. Mrs. Gatos, if you could start us off, please.
Yes, first of all, for anyone that's not aware, the summer concert series at the park was canceled for the rest of the season due to the COVID guidelines. We're sorry, but it's the best thing for everyone involved, and we look forward to bringing it back for next year. So that's one thing. Number two is the Forbes Road project on the Turtle Creek side. The repairs started yesterday and they will run until the end of October. It's a long period. If you've driven that road, you'll know why. The road is collapsing into the creek. bed, and it's extremely necessary. So avoid that area as the road will be shut down. And lastly, is the fireworks have been scheduled for September 6th at the Monroeville Mall. Thank you to them for allowing us once again to use the parking lot at Macy's. They will start again at 9 p.m. I'd like to thank Mr. Johns for all the work that he has put in, going back and forth as you know, things have developed and whether we could or we couldn't. And as of right now, everything's standing as a go for September 6th. And if anything will change, I will let you know that at next month's meeting. Otherwise, you know, everyone will hopefully take precautions there. We'll probably still be social distancing, maybe not, but probably. So just keep it in mind because we want to try and make it a good time for everybody. And with that, I'm glad to see everyone's here, healthy, and hopefully we'll get back together again soon.
Great.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Gatos. And yes, we will keep the public posted through our reports, but also on our website if any changes. But we're very committed to getting these fireworks off. Is like you said, that's the Sunday of Labor Day. That's Sunday, September 6th. And it's my understanding that the 4th of July committee, since they had some savings from not having the parade, they put a little more money into the fireworks display. I believe it was $3,000, and the company is matching that, giving us $6,000 worth
of extra. Yes.
And that's extra. That's more than what we usually have for 4th of July. So it's going to be a nice display and something that the community really, I'm sure, is looking forward to.
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned it was a Sunday because that in discussion, it was good for the mall as well, but also then at least everyone Monday for Labor Day to spend with their families and do their cookouts and, you know, spend their time together. So Sunday seemed like a really good idea. So it's all worked out.
Absolutely, I agree. And then also too, the kids can stay up later than normal.
And no one has to go to work the next day. Well, most people don't. So again, thank you, Mr. Johns.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Johns. Thank you, Mrs. Gatos, for your comments. Mr. Poach, if you could give your report now, please.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, just briefly, folks, again, you know, I appreciate everyone's flexibility. I wanted to take a second to thank, you know, my colleagues here in council and staff as well. You know, we're trying to get back to normal as much as we can. As many of you know, I spend a good deal of time, you know, involved in this subject, as we all do on a regular basis. And I can assure you that the key thing for our future success is going to be one word: flexibility from this. Flexibility in the way we open things or don't open things or hold off. We're beginning to see the effects of the 4th of July this week. Right now have been kicking in, you know, across the healthcare system, across the county. But interestingly enough, just to let everyone know, even though most folks look at the immediate area where they live and county as well, the reality is the Department of Health has looked at the entire southwest part of Pennsylvania as a whole group. You know, the viruses and diseases don't know city, town, or county borders as well. So they look at the totality of the area. And my last conversation that I was engaged with those folks on Friday too is indicating, oh boy, we were up 35% as opposed to in the eastern part of the state where things were down for a change. The balance had shifted our direction. The good news is some of the folks that it's affecting the lethality and whatnot, maybe not as much as it was before, but our huge concern is still those, if you look at all of the statistics across the board between ages 50 and 70 is as much as a large group as well. So for those of us here in this group, it was the right thing for us to be able to do. Not only existing health conditions are not present from that too, but just the various ages, everyone except for you, Mayor, you're the lucky one. We don't want you to be by yourself, you know, today too. From that. But I want to encourage all the folks out there to try to be as flexible as you can and patient with us as well. As I indicated to everyone else, you know, Monday may be one decision and we may have different information 2 or 3 days later too. So hang in there. Appreciate the services. We're getting back online here in Monroeville as much as we can, and hopefully look forward to you know, a better season as we move forward. So thanks you. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Harvey.
Yes, I wanted to personally thank Georgianne Payne for all her time and service on the Civil Service Commission. She put a lot of time in there. She helped that commission a lot. She was on that during the good and bad times, meaning when the Doug Cole situation happened, him leaving and getting him back, and there's been officers that they've worked very hard to hire. So she's done a lot of work. I just wanted to extend my personal thanks to her for her time on the Civil Service Commission. The second thing I had was, I don't know how they did it, but there is good news in the books. J.C. Penney's is staying open. It was one of the 2 stores that the corporation decided not to close. So that is good news. And I have talked to people around town, including Mr. Ratcher, who told me that there's big investors looking at not only Route 22 property like where Golden Corral was, where that area is being filled in beside the old Penn Monroe. And I talked to some of the building inspectors, and they said houses are selling in Monroeville like unbelievable, at an unbelievable pace. So I think next month's report, you might see a difference on that graph. I am a positive type of person. I don't see everything coming back fast, but that was some good news that I've been given, so I wanted to pass it on. That's all.
That's all you got? Thank you, Mr. Harvey. Mr. Wolfram.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank everybody that has given out everything they have for the things that we're searching for, to tell the people what's going on with municipality and the virus and everything like that. Everybody's so well informed. It's just amazing. Mr. Poach, I thank you for all that information you gave us. And of course, Josie, everything. Like I said, all I can say is thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad to be part of this. I hope I can do better later on. I want to thank the fireworks committee. I think that's going to be a great thing. Extra fireworks. People always enjoy that. So thank you for everybody, and stay healthy.
Thank you, Mr. Wolfram. Mr. Williams.
The first thing is, we've all gotten calls about people setting fireworks off. The first thing you need to remember is that the Apollo police chief, who was a license to set off fireworks, blew his hand off a couple years ago. So you need to remember that when you're playing with fireworks. Monroeville is under the Pennsylvania Fireworks Regulation Act 43 of 2017. And the important thing is fireworks must be 150 feet from an occupied structure. So that eliminates a lot of people being able to set fireworks off. So if there's a problem, we want it resolved. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I just want to remind everybody to continue to wear your face mask, because that's going to help us to beat this virus issue. And like a lot of the folks said, be very patient with others, and while you're shopping or whatever takes you outside, but please wear those face masks. The other thing is, to the senior citizens who belong to the senior center, the staff there is working extremely hard in order to get the senior center open and keep it safe for everybody. So please be patient. Sooner than later, the senior center will be open. And last of all is, I'd just like to say congratulations and good luck to number 6 Fire Department. They bought a new ambulance, and it was certified by the state and is now in service. And that's great for my area, because it just increases the coverage that we have for my Ward 7. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Wilson. And Mr. Arasinko is unable to join us this evening. He's representing us at the Allegheny County council meeting this evening, so he couldn't be here. I'm sure everyone misses him. And I am going to actually echo a lot of what my colleagues have said already. Mr. Poach, I think he nailed the right word in saying,
Yes.
we all have to be flexible as elected officials and our staff and our community members. Mrs. Gatos mentioned about the concerts that were canceled. There's a lot of rec department, events that have been canceled, unfortunately, things that people look forward to, things that people rely on, like day camps and things of that nature. I don't need to tell everyone that we are living in just unprecedented times. And unfortunately, these are just things we have to deal with right now, but we all just need to be flexible. And we are going to do our best, as was mentioned, with the library, the Senior Citizens Center, and the Recreation Department, Parks and Recreation Department, to get them back to where they should be and provide services and amenities to our community and move forward through this. Once again, the neighborhood pools are all open, so please check out their individual websites or call their phone numbers and inquire about memberships there. Mr. Williams mentioned fireworks, and yes, we are regulated by the state. Our hands are tied with a lot of the regulations with this, unfortunately. But please be a good neighbor. I get a lot of calls. I'm sure council does as well. People send off fireworks all hours of the night. We get a lot of complaints. It's extremely difficult to enforce or police these issues because they happen so fast. And unless a police officer is physically, actually observing someone doing this, it's a challenge to stop it. But we just want to ask the residents to just be a good neighbor, be courteous. Don't be sending them off all hours of the night, weekdays. It is getting out of hand. The state really didn't do us any favors whenever they passed these rules. I do want to just thank our staff for everything that they have done and what they continue to do. And we do have an event that we always have every year that we have had to change it up a little bit, the Jack Sedlak Memorial Cleanup Day. We did have to postpone it this year, but we are going to move forward and have our 25th annual Cleanup Day. It is rescheduled to Saturday, August 29th. Saturday, August 29th, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Unfortunately, though, we are not going to be able to have the picnic like we normally do afterwards. But we did feel that we can still meet up in groups and be socially distant, and we can still clean up our neighborhoods. You can beautify your neighborhoods, parks, houses of worship, schools, or roadway. And if you want a cleaner community in which you live, work, and play, you can help by joining the Municipality of Monroeville for Cleanup Day. This information is all on our website. It can be done through the Recreation Department and online. The registration deadline is Monday, August 24th, and you can register by filling out the form. It's online, but you can also call the Recreation Department for questions and for more information, and they can also register you over the phone, and they are open for business as well during regular business hours. You can pop in and sign up. We will still provide all the materials you need, the gloves, the bags, the vests, and everything that a group would need. T-shirts will be handed out as in previous years, and there definitely will be raffle prizes. So yeah, we won't be able to do it at a picnic setting, but people that are registered, their names will be put into a list for a raffle drawing. And every year, Joe Sedlak, and his brother Jay always acquire a lot of great prizes for people that participate. It's always a good event. So please, our 25th annual Cleanup Day, Saturday, August 29th, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Check out our website for more information. And then lastly, I will just echo what Mr. Wilson mentioned about the masks. There certainly is a lot of discussion, a lot of back and forth, a lot of controversy, people that aren't happy with masks, some people that are all for masks. And this is not our position to make a stance one way or the other, but what I would like to say is the rules are the rules. And particularly when we're talking about our businesses here in Monroeville, please be respectful and wear a mask when you are in our businesses. regardless of what your philosophy is, regardless of where you stand on things, the businesses, they require you to have masks. They're private property. The people in our stores that are working, they are not getting paid to have confrontations with customers that are refusing to wear masks. Our police department does not need to be responding to stores for people not wearing masks. It's a waste of time, waste of resources. So please, once again, be a good neighbor. Like Mr. Williams was there, he's getting close to Mr. Little. I don't think he's 6 feet from him, but he's getting close. He's wearing a mask. But when you can't socially distance, that's what the order is. The order is you have to wear one at all times, definitely within buildings, but outside if you cannot socially distance. So you can still be separated when you are in our parks and when you're outside. But if you're in a crowd, please wear the mask and do the right thing and just do it for the courtesy of your neighbors and community members here in Monroeville. And next month, we look forward to having a in-person regular meeting. But once again, please be flexible with us as we move forward. We may need to continue some Zoom meetings periodically, but hopefully we can all get back to a new normal sooner than later. And with that, I would like to seek a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you and good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Right.
Good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are.